Happy Friday, Ian. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, man? I don't know where to look. You know, I'm trying to share the show. I'm trying to do all kinds of stuff here.
So I think it's probably, the cat's out of the bag. You did the LFG Mastermind this week. It's Friday that we're shooting this live, and most people had no idea that the show came to town, that you had some top investors. I was there most of the time. There were some top investors all over the country that flew into town. Obviously, there were some local ones as well. So cat's out of the bag. Let's kind of go through maybe behind the scenes of why you did the LFG Mastermind, along with key takeaways from some of the speakers. I think a lot of people can get value from this. Actually, you know what? Let me put this video up real quick. And let's start with this so people understand what it was.
It's easy when you bring 20 of your closest friends that that are killing it in real estate all across the country, but there's always reservations. But as soon as we got in the room, from the very first presentation, it was nonstop, nothing but content, just the knowledge amongst the room of the people that were there, everybody just coming together and coming up with ideas, where they think the market's going, what their businesses look like, and just being completely transparent. You couldn't ask for anything else.
All right, so that's a teaser. Let's talk about this mastermind.
Yeah, so we've all gone to a lot of events, right? And we've gone to Mastermind, we've gone to conference style where it's all dictation, And one of the events I was at, I was kind of like, a lot of people were beating up on me, do an event, and I was like, nah, yes, no, yeah, you like go through it, then I can't help myself, so I start talking shit and say I'm going to do it, and anyway, long story short, I started telling a few guys because, I have like a validity issue, like who's actually going to show up. So I started telling a few guys and I blow it off. Well, then the guys are like, hey, man, are we doing this event or not? And I was like, oh, shit. So I quick throw it together. But I wound up inviting 20 of my closest, investor friends that are either local to Baltimore or I know that would travel. Didn't do some big, huge event. It was just a kind of like a little VIP session of people that I knew who were looking for something like this and that were willing to travel or live in and around Baltimore. So that's really how it came about. Nothing. It was just kind of on the whim,
Well, you sacked up, and you've talked about doing this for a long time, and you finally sacked up and was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to charge a nominal fee to get people committed, and this will be the first test case. And I'll tell you, it went very, very well. I'll be the first one to say it. And you had 20 people from around the country, but there was also multiple people locally that are in your sphere and in your circle that was there as well. And everybody, for the most part, although some people had other jobs and then they had assets as well, the majority of everybody were full-time real estate investors between single family, lending, self-storage, multifamily, commercial, new home construction. And we're at an interesting pivotal time right now because the market's changing. People are trying to figure out kind of what direction they're going to take their business in. Are they going to continue to scale in that asset class? Are they going to pivot into other asset classes? And you learn a lot from what other people are doing. And even if you don't, like, personally, I wouldn't do the business models that a lot of folks do, but they do very successful in them, and they wouldn't do my business model because they're successful in what they're doing.
And that was like some of the concept behind the overall event was I don't want just one. It's like farming and monocropping. No, like I didn't want just one asset class in the room, right? Because I think both of us as investors now have become opportunistic, right? Something that cash flows and it's the right asset for us. We're going to do it, and it's the right vehicle to do it in. And I said, you know what? We could go all storage. We could go all single family. We could go all multifamily. But in the end, I wanted to do something where we were bringing multiple asset classes together so everybody could come through and talk and say, hey, this is what's going on in my industry. Actually, this podcast got started through coronavirus. That's how we started on this, and kind of took that concept of like, hey, you got this going on, we got this going on. The market's getting a little funky. Let's everybody talk about it. And actually, our first presenter, he owns 750 houses local to Baltimore, Jack from Dominion. And once it's available, we're going to release his presentation into the podcast feed. But dude, like just the stuff that he was talking about from the single family side of things and how it relates to commercial real estate and the lending industry and where he sees everything going. It just like, it's an eye-opening, mind-blowing experience.
Well, it's really interesting because all of us are kind of secluded in our own little world. Yes, we're in pretty big metropolitan markets right here between the DC area and the Baltimore area, and then you also have the Philly area. But we're still secluded from the rest of the country of what they're seeing on a macro level, and we only know what we do locally. For instance, a lot of folks will be like, oh, that business model doesn't necessarily work here, but it might in another part of the country, or they say, or, everyone's kind of around their certain sphere of the way that they're conducting a certain type of business and a certain type of asset class. And they don't realize, it's like, well, these guys out in California, they're doing it like this, or these guys in Tennessee, they're doing it like this, and vice versa, right? Like what they look for in deals could be different in different parts of the country. So it's always good to have different people in different areas of the country kind of put in place. And I think right now is probably one of the most important times to do this type of stuff. It's always important to mastermind with people, learn from people, network with people, but the market is changing. I don't care what part of the country you're at. Interest rates on 30-year mortgages for homeowners have gone up 200 basis points in the first quarter of this year. The purchasing power has decreased by 20% because of that. Does that mean that the market changes? I don't know. I mean, you think so, but there's still not much supply, so maybe not. Will it eventually? Probably. Short-term interest rates have changed as well. That's why if anyone's using institutional backed capital, their interest rates have gone up. The commercial markets have changed. Multifamily capital has changed. So stuff changes, and these is good times to huddle up with like-minded people, not necessarily just in your market, but in larger markets, and see what they're doing, seeing how they're adapting, seeing what they see out there. Typically, you want to be in a room with people smarter than you, not the other way around. That's typically the way that things work. Like you need your peers to bring you up, right? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Well, and it must have been the universe looking out for me, because I was listening to a podcast on the way down, trying to get mentally prepared. My mind was racing, dude. Like everyone's like, you're outgoing, but dude, like when people have paid to come visit your hometown and we hosted it at Gaslight Square, one of our assets, like there's a lot on my mind to make sure everybody's having a good time, that they get value out of this, because in the end, if I was paying to go somewhere, I'd be looking for value. Our reputation's on the line. So as I'm driving down, I'm listening to this podcast, and the dude was going over like the 50 top things from the past year that he knows about real estate investing. And he said one of the best things I've heard, and I literally stole it. As soon as I got down there, I put it right into my presentations. I said, hey guys, I brought everybody into this room specifically for this reason, because you know what? A players want to be in the room with A players, and B players want to be in the room with C players. And I don't see any B players here. And I think that set the tone for the event, man, because it was true. It was all A players. It was all A presenters. Like that's what we were looking for, to motivate and for everybody to pull up and to get to the next level, whatever the next level is. It doesn't have to be switching asset classes, just getting mentally to the next level for yourself, whatever that means to you.
Yeah, exactly. Are we doing backwards hat now?
Yeah, I feel like I was getting shouted out, so.
Yeah. Let me play another quote that I was listening to yesterday or last night when I was looking. I got spam with Funnel Hacking Live event, and even though I don't want to go to it, like I want to go to it because God, the content is so damn good. And I took a snapshot on my phone of one of Tony Robbins' speeches. Part of it that he did. and this obviously came from him, and it was a Russell video that I just snagged, but I think it's really important right now.
Weak people make lousy times. Lousy times make strong people. Strong people make great times. Where are you in that phase?
Dude, and like that's I think about
play that again. You got to play that again.
One more
that's
time.
Sick.
One more time.
Make weak people. Weak people make lousy times. Lousy times make strong people. Strong people make great times. Where are you in that phase?
Dude, I think about it all the time because like right now I am nervous for B and below real estate investors, real estate agents, mortgage brokers, other real estate professionals that don't have their A game on, or they haven't taken this serious for the last 10 years since they've been in business. Like they gotta be like, they're going to get weeded out very, very quickly. There's going to be less deals. There's going to be less capital. There's going to be less opportunity, less buyers, less sellers in general. And the strong will survive. They will, and they'll make the most out of it. And they're going to gobble up all that market share. And I don't know when that's going to happen, but we already talked about this is multiple people have said this about how many loan processors Wells Fargo fired, and cut.
Yep.
They got to get rid. They didn't need them. Like that's going to happen. There's going to be less transactions potentially being had, and I think for all of us who are in the game, we're serious about the game. You have capital, you got experience, you got know-how, you've got a want, and even if you're new, it doesn't matter. You can still be new and still be successful, but you gotta be serious about it. And you got to grind hard about it, and you got to take it seriously. You'll be successful, and potentially more successful than you could have been in a market where there's quote unquote lots of opportunities, but the margins are tight.
Yeah. And that was a common theme even in the room. It almost doesn't even matter what level you're at. Like you have to be cognizant of these types of things, right? Like you let your foot off the accelerator just a little bit. And I'm not talking about you've stabilized the property and now you're asset managing it. That you're not being cognizant, you're not looking at your books, you're not. I like the other quote. Accounting is the language of business, right? Like if you're taking your eye off the books, you're taking your eye off of disposition of assets, right? Like all different types of things. That's what you need to be looking at overall, and that's what it means. You can take your foot off the accelerator and stop buying stuff. It doesn't mean take the foot off the accelerator of running your business on a day-to-day basis. And when you do, you are going to wind up into this tough situation. I also like that. Tony's saying, and this is not a sales thing at all, but it's like, in weak times come strong players. Some of the biggest banks that have been created right now were created during 2008, right? Like everybody ran scared. I created my portfolio in the 2008 crash, right? So with all that being said, man, like you have to get into rooms like these. You have to hang out with other people. Even if you can't get into a room or you can't afford it, go ask the biggest real estate investor to lunch, or somebody that that's doing what you want to do, and get out there and go do it. Obviously I'm all hyped up because whenever you leave one of these rooms, you're like, God damn, that was great. We need to do this more often,
What were some takeaways? Why don't you tell everybody how the room was set up first, like where you did it at? I think you might have said that, but like where you did it at, how the room was kind of how the room and the atmosphere was, like how the sessions went, like speaking versus open, networking, things like that. Let's give us a shout out to Seth real quick because Seth was there. What's up?
Yeah,
Seth?
so Seth was the only he was my only Craigslist find. Seth was the only person that was there that I don't want to say I did not personally know, but the only person I've never met in person. And he was a great addition to the room, absolute killer. We should be releasing a podcast with him here shortly. But with that being said, we set it up inside Gaslight Square. We set it up over at our site at Gaslight Square. I think it actually helped us because I think we're getting a tenant because we had 30 people in the room and they were amazed about how many people could fit in there. Either way, we set it over at Gaslight Square. We were set up into this one section of the building. One of the things I did not want to do was to go down this whole wormhole of all hot seats or shares. But what I did want to do is go down the wheelhouse of presentation and shares. And the reason I wanted to do that was because if someone had a question or someone was doing a share and then the expert was coming up behind it, somebody could ask that right question. And then it forced the experts to hang out. What I noticed, experts, presenters, whatever you want to call them, is that they saw the dynamic of the room. They wound up hanging out all day. You were there literally for 90% of the whole thing. Jason Schwartzberg, Jack Revere, Michelle, everybody hung out the whole time, which made the room even more dynamic above and beyond what we were expecting. And, you know, by doing that, present and then share, present and then share, I think it drew better topics out of people. And shares can get real weird real quick because they can go down a business thing and then end up down a life situation. Whereas we were really staying on the business topic, and we understand that business and life are all intertwined. But dude, it worked out really well. We did an Orioles game the night when everyone got into town, just as an icebreaker. So this way, when we hit the room, everybody was already going for it. You know, they already met everybody, all the timidness. Oh, who are you? Everyone trying to, I don't want to say puff chest, but you know what I mean? Like when someone says, who are you? What are you? You know, by this point, you've already had a few beers with the person and hung out, that barrier has been broken down. So then Tuesday when we got into the room, it was like first presentation, game on, let's go, you know, and everybody's like, oh yeah, I know that guy. Cool. Great question. Tuesday, you know, and by the way, we gave everybody the Baltimore food experience. We did chaps on Tuesday, Towson hot bagel in the morning, chaps for lunch. We went up to Sammy's Trattoria up in Hunt Valley for dinner. And then Wednesday we did some more bagels, and then we did Jimmy's Seafood. So not only was it in a great venue, we had great people, but you know, everybody got the Baltimore experience on food as well. And it was almost like a full immersion of just like, hey, this is who and what we are. And I think that brought a better dynamic to the room also, rather than just being cooped up in some bullshit hotel. Didn't really get to see anyone's site, right? Like the goal is to go over and see some, like we got to see one of our properties and see the site, you know, and I think that helped a lot, you know, getting out, walking around, talking to people. It wasn't 100% presentation, because that stuff becomes mundane very quickly. It also wasn't hot seat. It was like, no, we're going to go out. We're going to go check out the site. We're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. And trying to keep everybody on their toes. Can I recreate it again? I sure as hell hope so, because you know what? In the end, it was the people in the room that ultimately made the room.
Yeah. And we're scrolling.
And by the way, I want to go out on a limb. Go back to that Randy and Dan picture. I think you just, I don't know. They by far had the best share. I thought it was a very dynamic share. Can't really get into it, but all I know is everybody in the morning, you know, because the room's confidential because people are unfolding their business, but in the morning, the guys that were staying with him, they're like, dude, they got to get up. They got to do it. They got to work through what they got going on. And it was just.
Should we share this picture of everybody?
Yeah, sure.
So these were all your firefighter guys. If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes or whatever, make sure you go to realestatereservepodcast.com, because then you can watch the video version. If you're watching the video of the podcast, you can see it. Oops, hold on one sec. Yeah, so here's the group. You know, good group, all over the country. So yeah. Let's see, Maryland, Tennessee, Maryland,
West Virginia, Ohio,
California, Tennessee, Ohio,
Philly,
Pennsylvania, Texas, Tennessee,
Maryland boys, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, Baltimore, Texas,
another Texas.
Yeah,
lots of different spots. What was now I know obviously the mastermind component of it, because you know when you do events like this, the cool part about these events is you typically have like keynote speakers that talk about, you know, like educational stuff inside their business of work for them. And then you have like the mastermind stuff, which is the confidential stuff, which, you know, isn't going to be shared with anybody outside that room, right? You open up to your peers, you open up to people who you eventually call friends and family to help you. You know, they want to do whatever they can to help you out. Out of the speakers, like, let's talk about, did you get any takeaways? And you know, obviously a lot of the speakers anyways, but any key takeaways that you got from some of the speakers?
Yeah, you know, so we had a few speakers coming through. Out of them, you know, it's just always good to hear from everyone. You know, like I said, Jack came through, talked about the status of the market and just where we're going and what he sees from a residential demand side of things. And it's really interesting. Some of the stuff that he was breaking down, saying that, look, yeah, interest rates are going up, but supply is not there overall as an industry as a whole, because families are always being created, which is interesting. And then Jason Schwartzberg from Maryland Energy Advisors got up there, and he was talking about his C-PACE product and you know, how he was doing $30-40 million finance deals and stacking the capital and providing higher leverage to some of the investors in a unique way that nobody could really think about. And again, it was just a really good refresher course for me, because I brought people that we work with every single day. Who else presented? I presented. Obviously, I got from that, you know, that I think I'm a good presenter, and sometimes it doesn't feel like it. And then the next day we had our securities attorney come through. You know, she scared the shit out of everybody, but you need that. You get kicked in the dick every once in a while and say, uh-oh, what happened? And then our title attorney came through. Again, just another good refresher course on dumb shit that we should not forget.
You think everybody got value from that?
Yeah, I feel bad for Jeff. I stuck him after lunch, after we had a big old chaps lunch, and everybody was just kind of like, but they're like, dude, he was really smart. He came out to dinner and ultimately bumped elbows with everybody. And then there's these two guys from Hard Money Bankers. I guess they did all right. But, you know, honestly, Jason and Chris got up there and talked, and, you know, I've heard you guys speak several times. But it's just always good to hear the refresher and reiterate some of this stuff. And I had a few guys locally that have known you for a long time, and they're like, holy shit, I did not realize some of these things. And I think it brought everybody closer together. I mean, you know who was in the room, like Aaron Foster, who we've had on the podcast. We were just interviewing a few weeks ago, and he even was like, man, I didn't realize you guys had all that going on, you know? So the relationships that are formed for everyone is I can't even begin to explain what it'll do for everyone.
I think, you know, if we use the word transparency, I think that's a good word to use in general, because not that you're not transparent and open talking publicly or on podcasts or with your friends, but like you get in that mindset framework when you're in a group and everyone's really, really open to each other and really wants to help each other out. And that's when things like that start occurring. That's when things like that really, really happen. And like, nobody's hiding anything. Like for instance, if you saw somebody and you start talking to them in a meetup group and it's like, hey, tell me about your business. Like, you'll tell them about your business. You're not going to leave anything out. Like you'll be transparent about it. But that conversation is going to be very different than if you're in the room with 20 people and everyone's trying to help each other. Like, it's just a different setup right there. Like the people are gonna be like, oh, well, what did you do in this situation? What do you do in this situation? What's not working for you? What is working for you? If you had to start over today, what's one thing you would do? You know, and you know, this person right here, Terry Royce, is good about things because he likes asking a lot of questions. Like, hey, what's one thing that you would do? How would you start over? What would you do here? What would you do there? What would you do there? And, you know, you want to slap somebody across their face when they say stuff like that, but it's true. Like, it's the same thing a shrink does, or it's the same thing a business coach does. They ask questions to get you talking because they're, for the most part, not going to tell you anything that you don't already know. You just need to hear yourself saying it. And it's like, that's a good question. What is one thing that I would do differently if I started over? Or what's one of the biggest things that is attributed to your success? And that was one of the questions that somebody asked us while we're speaking. And I'm like, and in my end, and I think this is for everybody.
Rephrase the question. What was the question?
Well, it's the same answer for both. It's either what's what's one of the what did he say? What was one of the biggest reasons that you think you were successful? Like, what are one of the things that you did that you think made successful? And if you had to start over, what's one of the things that you would do? Do faster. And they're both kind of the same answer. It's freaking front end marketing. It doesn't matter what business venture you're in. It doesn't have to be real estate. Whoever has the most customers, the most clients, the most deals, the most opportunities is going to win, no matter what. If you talk to 10 sellers a week, and you typically are used to buying one deal a week or a few deals a month, and you're talking to 10 sellers, and I'm talking to 100 sellers, and I have to do the same amount of volume, my deals are going to be better than yours.
Yep.
Right? You have to close, and you have to perform on it's 10%, 1 out of 10 on yours. Mine's 1%. I have to find the best 1% deal. You have to find the best of the 10% deals. That's always what it's been. And that I think luckily came second nature to us when we started out. Like, I got to go out there and I need to make it rain. And when it's already raining, I need to make it rain harder. Over and over and over and over and over. And so many people stop when they get busy. And it's like it is ingrained in my head over the last 15 years. And someone asked me what my day-to-day looks like. And, I do proactive stuff. I do reactive stuff. But like a third of my day is marketing related activities, no matter what, no matter where I am, no matter how busy I am. I have to be doing those things because that's what's going to pay off residual income in the future.
And that was one of the reasons I forgot. Well, yeah, I had Stratton there as the master. He was a masterminder with us, but he got up there and presented about personal brand, right? And if you guys aren't following him, we've had him on the show, Strat Daddy on Instagram. Really just down to earth dude, killing it. But what his whole thing is about marketing, right? Like building a personal brand. I'm like, you're talking about it in the literal business direct sense, but the stuff that we're doing here is building a personal brand. Have I told the story on the podcast of the guy that was working at my house? I don't think I have. But all this is related. Like I had left Stratton's event out in Salt Lake when I presented at his. I started to concentrate a little more on producing more content. And one of the reasons I wanted Stratton to come out is to show everybody, here's the importance of why we need to do it. Even if it's in the most basic sense whatsoever, just a post here, a post there. And plus, I love when Stratton gets up there and talks, because then all of a sudden everybody starts posting pictures of the event. And you're like, finally, let's go. When you can't really ask someone to do that. But then when someone talks about it and mind fucks them, everybody does it.
Why? Because he starts taking selfies during.
No, just because he's like, hey, man, you got to tell people your story. Tell them what you're doing. Like, fuck yeah, let's go. And then they pull out their camera and they're taking a picture of Gaslight. And, hey, I'm at this mastermind and tagging stuff. And, look, I don't necessarily need it, but it's always fun and good to get that information out there. But with that being said, so as you're doing it right now, right? But with that being said, a few weeks ago, I was having some work done at my house, and I walked outside. I was wearing a company sweatshirt. The dude says, hey, man, are you Ian by chance? And I said, well, yeah, you're working on my house. What's going on? He's like, this is going to be awkward. I was like, oh, shit, here we go. Something's wrong with the house. He goes, you're the guy from Equity Warehouse? I said, yeah. He's like, well, this is going to sound really weird, but like I've consumed all your content, all your podcasts. I've been following you around. I own a storage facility. I want to buy more. Like I follow everything you do. Yo, dude, that was pretty powerful shit there, because just when you don't think anyone's listening or watching or consuming your content, you're legitimately changing someone else's life by telling people what you're doing. And you're telling people one of the key takeaways from Stratton's presentation was that put your information out there, but it's got to be truthful. Don't go out there leading your foot with, I made $100,000 when you really lost $100,000. Don't even lead out there with numbers. Just go out there and lead and say, here's what I'm doing. Here's the result that came of it. This is what I expected. This is what actually happened. Sometimes I win. Sometimes I lose. Getting material sucks. Be transparent, be open and honest with what you're doing, and share what you're willing to share, and people will resonate with that. I think now in the day of the internet and podcasts and everything else, people want to hear from real people. I mean, how many gurus have we had on our show? Let's be honest here. Maybe if you even want to consider AJ a guru, maybe AJ Osborne, and it's not in a bad sense, but like,
I mean, he didn't sell anything.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
Not trying to get anything sold.
Yeah, we haven't had a legit guru. He's probably one of the biggest investors we know that we've had on here, right? But he's not a guru in that sense. And that's the whole thing, is that people want to see you go out there and talk about real stuff.
Well, and also, and I heard when Stratton said during the presentation that he's a guru, which, I mean, he's not a guru in selling informational marketing material. I mean, maybe he's defined as a guru in something else, but everyone has their rationale for doing stuff. And if the point of a speaker is to sell a product, like an informational product, guru product of how to do it, that kind of defines that. If they're trying to like help expand their business and grow their business because they want to partner with you on deals, lend money to you, get money from you, help find deals from you, buy deals from you, sell deals to you, like that's not a guru in that world. Like they want to do business. Like the reason that you do, you know, a lot of the content that's produced is to try to typically do more business, do more deals, right? Like if you're providing content to sellers, you're potentially helping to list their house or sell their house or teach them something related to that. Say, you know, a lot of people, like a lot of the stuff that Stratton's doing is he does that to get deals to buy or get capital investors to invest money with him, right? Just by doing deals and showing people how to do deals and the way they does it. The authentic content is the only content. People are, you know, 10 years ago when people are more sophisticated now and, you know, they know what's up. Like, got to be authentic of who you are. I mean, Ian wears a Carhartt shirt or a firefighter hat every day. That's what he does. I typically wear HMB gear, every day and kind of wear the same, line of stuff. Like remember when Chris was talking, my business partner Chris, during our presentation, he was like, well, when I was in my 20s, I had to go raise capital and I wasn't 100% sure like how to do it, who to talk to. Like, do I have to go put on a suit every day? Like, because I need to raise money from people at our parents' age. And that's what they do. They wear suits. Absolutely not. And that was one thing that we always talked about. It's like, we're going to be us and attract business based on who we are, not who someone else thinks, we should potentially be, or who we think we should potentially be. So I think being authentic, doing the content that resonates with your core clientele, but also understanding what you're trying to accomplish. Like, what do you want to accomplish? Like, do you need to raise money? Do you need to find deals? Do you want to find buyers for your deals? Do you need to find sellers? Like, I know exactly, on our end, I try to do, like, my business model is doing loans, hard money loans. I can teach people how to potentially do them, or I can teach people how to be real estate investors and things like that. But I want to do loans. 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 That's like big picture. That's how I make money. That's what we want to do. And I think if you're watching a content video and somebody's providing value, and what and I think if you think through it and what their end goal is, I think that you can kind of determine if you resonate with them or not.
Sure. And I think that was the core theme of every presentation and share is like, you're consuming that content, it's in person, but you're taking that, processing it and figuring out how to use it for your deal. Let's be honest. Most of the guys in the room aren't going to build a 750 house portfolio or a massive lending portfolio or a lending portfolio like you, but there's nuggets in every single person's presentation that you're like, I just need that one aha moment. Let me read you one quote that I was going through some of the surveys that have come back. And I said, what was your major takeaway from the event? And the guy's answer was, I'm 1 or 2 deals away from changing my trajectory. And that is so true, whether it's a single family house, a storage deal, a multifamily deal, your first hard money loan, whatever you're trying to do, the fact that you're swinging the bat, I think, is the number one thing that you can do. And granted, this room was above the swinging the bat stage, but even as seasoned real estate investors, and there was a lot of heavy hitters in there, as you know, even as a seasoned real estate investor, you need to be reminded to swing the bat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And what worked yesterday might not work today. And I don't know. I can't keep what's been going through my mind over the last 2 weeks is that the market's changing. The market's changing. I see it. I see it in real time. I see the deal flow. I see the opportunities. I see the capital getting more expensive for some, players. I see better deals than the past. I just see it. Like I feel it. And yeah, that's a localized model, but like we all need A players in different markets to network.
I feel like lenders are referees, right? Because like Jack was talking, he had a really good analogy.
Did he say that? Did he use that term?
No, he has a really good analogy. He was talking about the grief of the changing market. And I don't want to ruin it because we're going to release it in the podcast feed. But the grief of the market, and it was such a good analogy, the same way someone dies and the denial and all this other things. And I feel like lenders in general, because they lend a little bit of money, is that I feel like lenders are like the umpires. They get to see all the pitches come through. And you would think that an umpire is going to be a great batter, right? Doesn't always translate. But the umpire sees all the pitches come across the plate. And that's kind of what like your lender is. And you should say, hey, man, is this a ball or a strike? The guy, Seth Teagle, who, let's see, right up here, this guy right here, shout out to Seth. He came in early and we were talking and bullshit. And he's like, yeah, I just shoot all my deals over to my lender. They tell me where they're quoted out. They tell me what debt service is going to be look like, what they're seeing on it. And I use him as a backstop before I ever waste a second on underwriting my deal. And he's like, I look for deals that I know that seem marginal in my head. And then I shoot it over to my guy. And then he shoots it back to me and says, here's your debt package. Here's your equity package. Yeah, this is what you need to do to get it done. And it's just such a good analogy that I just literally made up while we're sitting here. Look at me. I'm a mastermind. Right. I'm ready to go, you know?
I heard that. That was interesting. And I don't know if that would work for other folks, other parties, depending on who your lending source is, but it made sense.
I thought Terry was taking a shot at me, D&I, but I see what he's saying. More bat swinging and less dick swinging. And it's 100% true. Too many people get out there, and this is like the whole being transparent online and being transparent in your business and getting in the room. The room wasn't beating chest and measuring dicks. Yeah, we're all going to get out there and say, oh, okay, this is the portfolio I have. This is where I stand. This is what I've built. But in the end, it became, hey, man, I'm here to help you guys. How can everyone work together? And that's what I think is so powerful about these rooms.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, Terry, on our end, I see it two different ways. Number one, although we only use private capital, I could participate with some of those larger institutional backed lenders, the Torex of the world, Peer Street of the world. So I know what their terms are on some of these deals, and I see where their rates are going, and they're going up and up and up, and the requirements are getting harder and harder and harder. So I think that's one big sign, because a big part of fix and flippers and rental property owners and Airbnb investors, I mean, this is just on the resi side. The multifamily, I see the multifamily stuff that's skyrocketed as well. Some of the commercial stuff has gone up. So, that alone, and like what you were saying about the lenders or the referees, I mean, one of my big takeaways that Sam Zell said in, my Being Too Subtle book is, Wall Street and the financial markets determine where the real estate markets end up based on liquidity, how easy it is to get capital, how cheap it is to get capital, right? Because most people in general, will buy what they can buy and they'll take what they can take. It's just like a homeowner. Hey, if you give me 100% financing, I'll take it. Even if I can't afford it, maybe. Like, that's not a responsible way to do it. But if the referee or the umpire lender irresponsibly lends you money and approves it and gives you that capital, most people will take it, right? So I like that term of being a referee and an umpire. But I've also seen a good bit of deal flow over the last few weeks where a real estate investor was quoted something, a month ago, 2 months ago, and they're a week before closing and they can't get it done. And not even the rates going up, like the requirements got stricter, or something happened, and they'll come to us and be like, hey, what can you do here? And when stuff like that happens, that means that, you know, the stronger real estate investors potentially will continue to be able to potentially buy that deal. They might need more cash. They might have a little bit more risk tolerance, but there's going to be a lot of real estate investors that are going to end up passing on those deals. And then, you know, the deal goes back on the open market, right? And potentially there's more inventory, and potentially there's more buying opportunities for the next real estate investor. So I don't know. I mean, I don't have any data analytics on anything. It's just gut feel. But we've seen it in all of our markets that we lend in. And I've heard from other guys that were lending this weekend that they've seen similar stuff as well. And, you know, although we're not really messing with our interest rates, we're leaving them the same. A lot of these guys from different areas of the country lend significantly higher than what lenders around here do.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting several months, 18 to 24 months. You know, we've been saying it. We'll see where it goes. You know, and that was a lot of the conversation in the room overall, of just like what people think they're seeing, where they think it's going, what do we do? A lot of conversations towards wealth protection. You know, in times like these, I don't want to say it makes you check up, but it definitely makes you think about what you're doing. Should you take chips off the table? And yes, we all should be doing this in good, bad, in a very status quo, a regimented type thing. But at times like these, it really exposes your shit properties and really exposes your great properties. Your 80-20 rule is going to come into effect really fast. So with that being said, man, overall it was a ridiculously good event. It went better than I personally thought it would go. And I'm looking forward to doing the next one. Just gonna go out on a limb. And now have a responsibility.
But it's gonna be more expensive, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, the thing is
up that price. You had a lot of demand for it, and you did it, and it worked out great, and it was undercharged. Everyone told you it was undercharged because you provide a lot of value.
Right, we provided a ton of value, and you know the whole thing. You can't sell something that you don't value. I don't want to say it like that, but you know what I mean. Like, you can't value it. You don't know how it's going to be, so you try to look. We just wanted to break even. I'm not here to make money on that. We do well in other parts of our lives. That this is legitimately for us to get together. So if increasing the price relates to increasing the experience that everyone gets,
that's my point. No, that's my point. Is you want to charge more so you can provide more value. It's not about, I mean, listen, whatever. You make a few $1,000 on net. That's not changing anybody's lives. The point is you want to have the right people in there. You want to have the right experiences in there. And you want to provide the right value. And you can't do that sometimes on a small budget. It's got to be a big budget. And that's why, think about like when people go to mastermind groups with like Tony Robbins and they go to his island in Fiji and they're hundreds of thousands of dollars. The reason why they're that expensive is it's the A+ players, and they provide a ton of value. And mentally, the more you pay, the more you pay attention. Right? That's very, very simple. The more you pay, the more you pay attention to something. And if you're getting something, if something costs a few $100 and it could potentially change your life, you might be like, I don't know. But if you do an event and it's whatever, $10,000, like, you're going to go all in. Like, you're going to take it really, really seriously. And I'm not saying an event like this should be nearly that expensive, but you want there to be a price point on it because you want to provide value. You want to provide the right people. You want to provide the same amount of people that are willing to stroke a check because they know how valuable it is, and they're going to put their all. They're not going to be like, this thing was only a few $100 or $1,000. I'm going to go in, and if I get something out of it, great. I'm going to dick around. They already have the mental mindset and a limited belief that it might be so. But serious about it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that, like, I didn't want to get into a wholesale. Like, I wanted it to be guys that I know it would come and it wouldn't. Yep. Granted, $1,000 wouldn't hurt anyone's pockets for the guys that were in the room. In the end, I wanted it to be easy and quick, and I had fears. But you know what? Something else that came out is that I think everybody knows me, maybe not from watching this, but I try to portray my overall attitude is it's okay. Just keep it rolling. It's not going to hurt anybody. This doesn't have to be sophisticated and regimented. And a lot of people appreciated the room being fun and we could joke with each other. And it wasn't some stuffy BS presentation in a hotel. It was at one of our sites. We did a walkthrough. Someone was asking a dumb question. I was like, dude, why are you asking that? And he's like, no, I really need to know the answer because I don't know. All right. You know, and we all laugh and we have a big joke. But in the end, dude, like it reminds me of the firehouse. That's what I need. I need to be able to go in there, talk shit with the boys. And that's the room that we tried to create. And that's ultimately what we got. And I'm telling you, I'm already looking forward to doing the next one. So there will be a dedicated golf day for the guys that were there or anybody that's looking to come to the next one when it's time to release it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The openings, there will be a dedicated golf day.
Yeah, you have different things like that for different people. I think you should keep them localized just because then people experience what you do. They experience like you go to enough of events in different areas of the country and you might be on someone else's home turf. Like they're on your home turf, like potentially around the beaches or, a beach related one.
Well, yeah, maybe we'll do one. Maybe we'll always do one in Baltimore and one elsewhere. Because like one of the ideas was to go out and travel to each person's in the group's investment and be able to have us host us in your home city. Because it's like, I can only bring so many presenters here from Baltimore before we start repeating. Then we go to other people's location. Here's the best players in my area. And we get to talk to them. But with that being said, part of the problem is I think we're leasing out where we had the event. Literally the people came there, saw we were having the event.
It was those people.
Dude, they're a 30-person employee company. They haven't been in the office the last 2 years for COVID. They outgrew their office. They need to get out.
They came back 3 times, and they caught my attention because I was speaking during those times, and they kept coming back. And I'm like, who are these people looking over, not concentrated?
I think it helps sell the building. Helps sell the building. So
that particular unit in the building is freaking awesome. That's one of the. I haven't been to the whole building yet, just because it's gigantic. But that spot was good. So yeah, hopefully it works. So listen, when we're done, we're wrapping up. When we're done, we're putting that Tony Robbins piece on again because it's a no-brainer. Like ingrain that in your freaking head.
I agree 100%.
Any last words?
There's a big difference between going to an event and running an event. But either way, these types of events in general are a mental drain. Like there was something else that I said when I got up there after the A player comment was, we're here to mastermind for 48 hours. And I think we used up every single minute. My man Schley and Shock definitely used up every single minute, but that's where a lot of stuff happens. It's not just in the room. It's going out afterwards and getting dinner and drinks and hanging out. That's where the real mastermind happens. And the 48 hours that we were immersed together, I think we used up every single minute. I mean, you were at Nick's Fish House afterwards. The conversations that were coming out afterwards were just absolutely amazing. What time
did you guys stay there till?
They closed at 10 o'clock. We left at 10.
Did Stratton and everybody figure out how to do eat crabs? I saw them try to pick them.
We got to talk about that.
Who taught them how to? Well, let me ask you this question: Who taught them how to open crabs? Because there's multiple different ways to do it, and people have different logic.
Well, let's talk about this first. It was a guy from Salt Lake City, a guy from Dallas, Texas, and another guy from Columbus, Ohio.
Who the heck?
Stratton splits time between Fresno and Salt Lake. So I went to Salt Lake, so I call him Salt Lake. So
I didn't know he did that.
So then you had Schley, Shock, and Bowen teaching them. Dude, those are some heavy hitters there. I mean, Bowen works on the water every day.
Those are some Baltimore boys.
Yeah, and they're over there trying to point and like Stratton and them. They're just like, how do I get the meat out? I'm like,
tell Stratton to take his sleeves up a little bit so he doesn't get anything dirty. So did they do the claws individually first, or did they flip it over and do the shell first and leave the claws on? Because there's a few different ways to do it.
Lion Shock popped them off. Bowen did the pull the
claws
whole
first?
shell off, cut it in half, and pop it out. He's like, my mom used to pick crabs for a living.
And then when he pulled the crab out, and then he ate each one like the lollipop. Right? Because he's got the lump meat that way. So that's how some people do it. So some people will take, the crab. They'll do one claw, try to get a good,
a good pull.
Eat, crack the claw, and do it 8 times or 10 times around. Right. Other people take it, they open up the shell, they split it, right, and then when you take the claw out, you got a big old lollipop size crab meat, and then you don't have to eat the interior because if you do it that way. So, and different people do it different ways.
I'm going with Bowen because his mom used to pick crabs. He's worked on the water for the better part.
That was the way he did it.
Yeah, he was popping the shell off, and then he said,
"That's an Anne Arundel County thing."
Yeah, and then he said,
"Everyone I know from Anne Arundel County does it like that." For other places in Maryland, they do it the other way. There's no right or wrong.
I always thought you popped them out, and then you popped the shell open, split it in half, and I don't know. I'm from Philly. Yeah, I grew up in Philly.
So you would do the claw. So you would do the claws first.
Yeah, claws.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people. That's what I think a lot of people do. But I mean, no right or wrong. What size crabs were they?
Dude, I don't know. By then, I was so mentally fried. I don't know. I just saw them come out. They were eating them. I heard a lot of yelling and screaming. I kept looking. I was like, this ain't good. I'm just staying away. So
perfect. All right, let's do this Tony Robbins skit real quick. One more time.
Times make weak people. Weak people make lousy times. Lousy times make strong people. Strong people make great times. Where are you in that phase?
Boom. Where are you in that phase? All right, think about that, and we'll circle back. We're coming up. We got a bunch of podcasts coming up real soon. We've got some guests from different areas of the country coming in. We also got some guests in our office coming in. So make sure you're checking iTunes regularly. Make sure you're checking the feed on Facebook and YouTube or everywhere else that you watch. If you'd enjoyed this episode or any other episode of the Real Estate Reserve podcast, please give us a review, give us a like, share this with a friend. That's how we grow. That's how try to help as many people as possible. Appreciate it. Chat soon, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, thank you for tuning in.